Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin going into the weekend. I also want to talk crypto market cap, look at the Bitcoin dominance. So many of the alts are just not keeping up versus BTC here in this recent rally. So we'll take a look at some of those. But I want to just spend a little time giving you guys an update going into the weekend on Bitcoin. Some of the levels to look at here. We've been in this consolidation for the last few days and it has been very choppy. And today we had another attempt to break out and rally, and we saw a quick pullback and back into the box, if you will. So that's what I'm going to go over here. Looking at the daily chart first, you can see BTC, since breaking out of that big inverse head and shoulder pattern above 6,800, we've just been consolidating. We had that one big day move, and then since then it's been pretty choppy action here. We'll look at the detailed charts here in a minute, but you can see we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and today would have been 7 green days in a row. I've been looking for that red day, if you will. It's just unusual to see this long of a string of days. The last time we saw this many days in a row close green was during the big parabolic run that we were seeing in November and December. And so we were due for a pullback, a pause, a little bit of a red day. I thought we were going to get it yesterday. But we continue to close green, and here we are seeing some reversal. There's still about 3 hours left at the time of this recording in this day, so unless it can close above 64.70, it's going to end as a red day, and that's most likely what we'll see. So after that, then what? And so I'm looking at a couple of levels on the downside as well as some levels to be watching on the upside, and we'll take a deep dive into that. First, let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart here. You can see I've only left 3 on here for the sake of clarity. You can see there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, which has a heavy weight in terms of the dominance in the market cap, and then the others category. And you can see here we are now back up to 45% plus, and so we're over that 45% mark, and these are the same levels we were seeing near the highs in March and April. And so the altcoin market has certainly reflected that. You can see the Bitcoin dominance rising. Ethereum has really been dropping versus Bitcoin, and you can see here we went from 42% Bitcoin and almost 18% Ethereum, and that's shifted, and a lot of that has moved back into BTC. Some of that is absolutely in response to the rumors, the anticipation of a Bitcoin ETF. And so you're seeing this flight back into Bitcoin, this rotation out of the alts, partially because of that and because of the rally and the breakout that we saw in Bitcoin this week. And so until we get some official notice or we hit some extremes, and we're starting to get there in a lot of the alts, I expect that dominance to continue to edge up on here. Now, Monday they could come out and somebody could say, hey, official statement, there is no ETF coming, or there is no, don't expect that anytime soon, and that could certainly have a negative reaction in the market. And on the flip side, if there is an announcement, in the second half of this year, you will likely see a quick spike in the BTC dominance. I don't expect the alts would keep up in that initial announcement, and then most likely we'll see that rotation back into the alts. But there's a lot of them I'm still watching. Many of them are still setting up these big reversal patterns on the daily charts and must be kept an eye on. But for now, BTC is the place to be. So let's take a quick look at the charts here. So I want to look at the daily chart again. Just notice the volume on the breakout was significant. It was very strong. We had the highest volume move on this day here near the top as we started to see some pause, and then here today above average red day here, and that was because of a big fake out that we saw in a reversal. And so let me go to the Coinbase charts here, looking at the 4-hour chart. So there's a couple of things that I want to highlight here. First, you can see that since the breakout we've been staying above the 10 EMA on the 4-hour chart. We had the first touch of that here on this initial pullback, which hit a low of around 72.30, and then we've bounced, and so far we have closed within this box here, this 7,300 to 7,500. This has been the trading box since the initial run up. We had that one follow through leg to the upside, which briefly took it over 75.50, but then that's it. It's just been sitting here, and we've been in and out and out. We've seen these wicks, these quick attempts to get above it, but every time it tried to get above 7,500, it would just sell right off. and every time it tried to dip below this 7,300, the quick buying showed up. And so clearly there's a little bit of a battle here. The bulls and the bears are battling it out. They're not letting it go over 7,500 right now. There's a lot of selling showing up, but at the same time, it hasn't really had that deep pullback correction that would have been expected after such a strong move. So it's positive from that perspective in the sense that it's been holding up relatively well, but it's been very choppy here during this whole portion. And then here today we saw a pretty big reversal attempt, and it went as high as 70 or 76.90, basically 7,700 on several exchanges, and it was very short-lived. It was a 5-minute candle, and quickly the selling showed up, and it went all the way back down to sub 73 very briefly during this 4-hour bar. So it was very volatile action. All things being equal, if I was just looking at the charts, I'd say that's a big reversal candle, and we're going to see some more downside action following that high volume reversal outside candle. I mean, this single 4-hour bar basically engulfed this entire pattern. But knowing that there's some potential news catalyst, there's just a strong move following the breakouts. I'm not necessarily going to be shorting here on this big reversal candle, but I am looking for some pullback, a potential if we break below this 7,300 to around 7,100 is kind of my ballpark target here. Sub 72 and above 7K. So in and around that 7,100 is that initial target that I'm looking for here. Going back to the daily chart real quick, you can see that the 10 EMA is still catching up, and it's still below 7K. So it has a little bit of room to go here on the upside. So a pause, in and around these levels, or a pullback, meet it halfway, is kind of what I'm looking for as a good, healthy consolidation and retracement here. Just real quick, zoom in into the 1-hour charts. Let me hide this here. You can see we had that attempt, and that was a big volume reversal and hit that 7,000, basically 7,700, and then followed by a quick reversal to the downside. And since then, we're just kind of sitting tight here. But that was the target zone that I was looking at. If you guys recall, in that initial video before this pattern actually broke out, I said on a breakout, there are two places that I am looking at. The first one was relatively easy. It was basically the 7,700 zone because of this prior resistance, as well as it being a very good measured move out of this pattern. So the way you do that is you take the depth of the head, extrapolate that out to the breakout point, and that measured move lined up almost perfectly with the top that we saw here around 7,700. The other target that I was looking at was 7,500 around that point, and that was using some extensions as well as some calculation here on the support resistance. And so basically that little box there was the target zone, and you can see that so far we've hit that, and anytime we get into that little box there, that's where all the selling has showed up. And so now that we've seen that, especially that we hit almost 7,700, I expect a little bit of more consolidation and probably some retracement before we see some more upside action. So that's going to be the levels to be watching going into the weekend in the next couple of days. A break above 7,700, and you're going to see a pretty quick move up over 8K in my opinion. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, it would be healthier if we pulled back and consolidated to further reset and help cool off some of the RSI levels on the 4-hour time frame. They're already pulling in pretty good, so even a move from here would sustain another leg higher. On the daily chart, certainly never reached those extreme overbought conditions, and so we have plenty of room to run on the upside if this wants to make another leg higher from here. So looking at the alts, looking at the market cap by BTC performance, you can see over the last 24 hours, Ethereum down 3.5%, Ripple down almost 7%, Bitcoin Cash 3.5%, and all of the alts, for the most part across the board, down pretty significantly versus Bitcoin. And so it's been very clear that they have been significantly underperforming BTC, and you can see it in the charts just looking at the top three following Bitcoin. So Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, any changes in these names market cap wise, it's going to drive that BTC dominance number just because they comprise such a large percentage of the overall market cap. And so looking at Ethereum, big time underperformance versus BTC. You can see here on the 4-hour chart, just really getting clobbered. Now it is hitting oversold conditions, but there is no signs of bullish action yet. You can see here on the daily chart, the last 4 days have just been a huge hit versus BTC. RSI on the daily is here in the low 20s, and volume is starting to spike a little bit here as this selling accelerates, but still there's no sign of reversal. Going to Ripple, you can see Ripple, very similar action. We've been in a big downtrend versus Bitcoin anyway, and then here the last couple of days just really accelerating to the downside as Bitcoin broke out. And Bitcoin Cash, not quite as prominent to the downside here, but you can see it's the overall trend still. BTC has been outperforming significantly, and then in the last couple of days a lot of these names are really accelerating. Looking at VeChain is going parabolic to the downside. Now I know that has some technical aspects to that. They're making some major changes to the project. There's a token swap. Trading will be frozen early next week on VeChain, and so that is certainly a factor. But man, some of those other names in the alt market are just really getting hit big time versus BTC, and that's just kind of been the theme of the week. Unfortunately, there's always a few that are outperforming, showing a little bit more relative strength, but across the board, Bitcoin has absolutely dominated and been the place to be this week. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Just wanted to share some thoughts going into the weekend, some things to keep an eye on. As always, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for those likes. And until next time, take care, everyone.